Consistency is also learning to ride in a rhythm, developing a regular happening, something which is consistent. That's exactly why the word is what it is. I've noticed a lot of riders, for instance, develop an inconsistency simply the way they accelerate. Some riders will accelerate when they've got the throttle open, but it's not fully open, and they're taking the bike right up the rev range, even to the rev limiter, but only on, say, half or 3/4 throttle. Now that makes a huge difference to how quickly the bike accelerates, and a huge difference to the bike's top speed, which means when you start to get towards the braking area, you're going to be approaching this at different speeds. Thus, you've got instantly an inconsistency. If you accelerate with the bike, consistently on, say, full throttle, you're going to arrive at the point, yes, you're going to arrive quicker, but you're also going to arrive more consistently. Well, sometimes the rider's hands, where they've got the hands positioned on the grip, each of us has only got a certain amount of motion in the hand, and even with a quick action throttle, sometimes if you've got your hand in a fairly low position, your hand's right round, so you assume then you've got the bike on full gas, and of course it's going to rev hard. But unless you actually feel a mechanical sort of click, it actually hitting the lock stop, hitting that stop where the gas is fully open, it's only then on full gas. For argument's sake, a superbike putting out, for argument's sake, 180 horsepower, that's only based upon the bike at sort of maximum RPM, maximum throttle. If you've got the same bike on the dyno revving to, say, maximum RPM, say 12,000 revs, whatever it is, and you've only got it at half throttle or 3/4 throttle, it makes an enormous difference how much power the bike's putting out, thus how quick the bike is. The actual hitting of the stop, the throttle stop, is the consistent bit about it, because at that point the bike's going to accelerate pretty much regularly at the same pace. If you've got it somewhere in the half range or the 3/4 range, the bike's generally going to accelerate at different rates, which, coming onto a straight, once the bike's on its way upright, and particularly when it's upright, full gas is where you should be anyway. So from a consistency point of view, if you've got, say, for instance, a bike with a shift light, is change up when the shift light comes on. That's kind of being aware of what's going on, as opposed to just revving it off your gut sensation. Your gut sensation will get you somewhere near again, but it's not as accurate as either glancing at your tacho or looking at your shift light. Building up reference points is crucial, mainly because without them you're guessing where you're doing things on the track. And in the braking video we talked about using skid marks, ends of curbs, anything that you can visualize on track that you can use. They can be in your peripheral if you need to, if you can't find anything, right on the track's edge or whatever. Building up reference points, and I've laboured this point a little bit, but I feel it's such an important thing to talk about. Building them up is obviously important, but finding them can be sometimes quite difficult. I mean, what reference points I use, sometimes other people can't even see, and vice versa. They tell me their reference points and I've not seen it. So as you're riding round, open up your senses a little bit. Start to look at things, not just stare at the guy's tyre in front of you or at the marshal who's frantically waving that yellow flag. Open your senses up a little bit. Listen to the bike. The amount of bikes I've followed and they're sat on the rev limiter, that in itself is a bit of an issue. But the bike's long stopped accelerating. Most bikes, long before the rev limiter, have actually stopped producing their peak power, and you're on a downward slope of power then. The bike's actually, even though it's gathering pace, it's stopped accelerating. Get on board for just $5 a month to see my exclusive content. But if you like what I do, you can subscribe on higher tiers for greater rewards.